una kushe. I dey try for find them young girl them below the age of 21 inside salon wey sabi write fine poetry. Then fine poem the year wey I dey look for. They not for don't appear na any book or social media platform like Facebook, YouTube or TikTok. Then poem the year wey I dey look for, then for be then young girl, then young poem then. Nobody not for help you write them poem the year. Then na because where I don't get that, then fine poem the year so. I want write one fine book. I want write one fine book for sure say young girl then a salon then get talent. So do ya, if you know that young woman where they write fine poetry and you poem them na you young and they don't one day appear na any social media platform, I go like for you from you. Do ya contact me on the email where you see na this video or under my Facebook post right say are interested. Thank you.
Hello and a hearty welcome to all of you who've taken your time to join us here tonight. It's a glorious day when we coordinate. It is a glorious day in England where I live, and it's July and it very much feels like Africa. Tonight we're going to be launching the book written by the fabulous Yusuf Kamara. Now, one of the things I aim to do on this platform is to seek out those very talented writers, especially poets back home in Sierra Leone, who, due to socio-economic circumstances, can't get themselves published. And very often what holds back those writers is poverty, to be honest. It's not that they're not talented, it's just that they haven't got the resources to even think of sitting down writing a book, let alone publishing one. And by way of introduction, my name is Bridgette James. I myself was born and raised in Sierra Leone. So I went to St. Anne's Primary, back then it wasn't St. Joseph's, that's how old I am. And then Methodist Girls High School and Albert Academy. And then I went to Friday College. And those were the days of the illustrious Dr. Kadisise and Dr. Julia Spencer. And one of the things I aim to do on this platform, as I said, is to bring you talented poets. Now, one day I got a Facebook notification and it said, someone's posted on your wall. And I thought, oh, here we go again. And then I went to have a look. And I saw this beautiful poem. I went, goodness me, who's going to look this? And then I contacted the person. I used to be a police officer, so I did a bit of investigation. I went, who was this person? And when I looked at his profile, and I thought, oh. So I said, well, get back to him. I said, I quite like your poem. And that's how I got talking to Yusuf Kamara, who goes by the pen name Gaz the Paper Poet. And I said to him, did you write that? And he went, yeah. And I went, is it true? And I went, oh, yeah. And he's like, I've got a few more poems. And I go, I'd love to see them. And ladies and gentlemen, out of that conversation came a book, which is where we are today. And I'd like to say a bit more about Yusuf. And if you think of the deplorable conditions under which people had to live, and if you think of how traumatized people were, and everything was in jeopardy, back in those days we didn't have free education, as far as I know. And that's another time when Yusuf was born. Now think of what he says about himself, that he was born in a low income household. His parents, one middle class, the one rich. And think of the fact that his education was jeopardized. He's a very honest person. He said, well, I dropped out of school because of so and so. And he hasn't blamed anyone for his circumstances, he's looked at interpersonal factors that led him to where he was. I think for one moment that Yusuf dropped out of school, got lured into crime when he found himself living on the streets. Think of those people who were just waiting to take advantage of someone like Yusuf, who were just waiting to introduce him to drugs, to petty crime. Think for one moment that at a young age, Yusuf then found himself in temporary prison. I think of how bleak his life was. And out of all those dark situations, ladies and gentlemen, has come a beautiful book. And it's a book that comprises poems and short autobiographical stories. And in it, he takes us through the journey of his life to where he is today. And I was honoured to be the person that sat and wrote that book with him, because I think the world needs to hear his story. Very often in Sierra Leone, we write people off because maybe they live in the slums or used to live in the slums, they aren't graduates, and you don't see past those barriers. And when you see past those barriers, you'll be amazed at who the person really is. And there's something about Yusuf's poetry which myself, being a nerd who sits and reads books, I enter writing competitions. I am so interested in everything that's got to do with creative writing. There's something about his story that's unique. For us as a nation, we usually have poets who I would describe as elitists. They are graduates, they've got letters before and after the names. When you're thinking of someone like, Ambrose Massaquoi, Elvis Banabum Hallowell, Sil Chinikoka, and then you have Yusuf Kamara. And he writes with raw emotion. And that's just what's unique. And we have someone for the first time in the landscape of Sierra Leonean literature writing about being homeless, about a life of crime, about his interpersonal problems, and it's just a beautiful read. And I hope you stick around with us tonight as we're going to have some people read Yusuf's poems, and he's going to be reading some himself. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have a drink of water. I'm going to pass you over to Yusuf for now.
Hello, my people. I am Yusuf Kamara, pen name Gaz the Paper Poet, the poor poet from the ghetto, the zone where lives are considered to be zero. I am 30 years old, Sierra Leonean rap poet, entrepreneur, farmer, and I currently reside in the northern part of the country, Makeni Town City to be precise, where I'm engaging on my agricultural activities. I've spent half of my life in the street engaging on street activities. Not until 2017 that I discovered poetry, which have changed my life from the bad influence I was to the role model that I am today as a poet and a rapper. And I want to pay back the background that I came from, the street, the ghetto, the slums, with the sweet feelings that I'm enjoying today, self-knowledge, knowing oneself. Yeah, because I know lots of youth are trapped there on street activities ignorantly.
I'm looking for a female poet with a strong voice, style. I'm looking for a female below the age of 21 who writes her own material and lives in Sierra Leone. You must be unpublished and you should write your own poems. Well, if you're that person, then you're exactly who I'm looking for. So why not get in touch? Please get in touch by replying to my post on the email provided
as I love to hear from you.
Fumble them, una crochet. I dey try for find them young girl them below the age of 21 inside salon wey sabi write fine poetry. Then fine poem the year wey I dey look for. They no for don't appear na any book or social media platform like Facebook, YouTube or TikTok. Then poem the year wey I dey look for, then for be then young girl, then young poem then. Nobody no for help you write them poem there. Then I because where I don't get that, then fine poem there so. I want write one fine book. I want write one fine book for sure say young girl then a salon then get talent. So do ya, if you know that young woman where they write fine poetry and you poem them na you young and they don't one day appear na any social media platform, I go like for your from you. Do ya contact me on the email where you see na this video or under my Facebook post right say are interested. Thank you.
This is where I live with my wife and my kid. For the past 2 years, I've been doing my writing with the help of Way Out. Way Out have made me a poet. And I've recently been invited to the African Writers Conference in Nairobi, Kenya. I really want to go out there and represent the street and go and represent his country in an African conference. It will mean a lot to me because I really want to use my story and inspire other youth who are down there in the ghetto to tell them that all is not gone. This invitation is very, very important to me because it gives me a platform to go out and showcase my talent and interact around the continent of Africa. I really want to go out there and experience, see things for myself. So when I come back in my country, I'll use my story and experience out there to inspire and motivate youth in the streets just like me to
Ladies and gentlemen, excuse the birds tweeting in the background. I live in the countryside. We are celebrating the beautiful poetry of Yusuf Kamara, aka Gaz the Paper Poet. If you, for one moment, would just take a second to reconsider, as he says in his poetry, he used to live in the ghetto. But that means he used to live in a slum. Now, we have a lot of slums in Sierra Leone where young people live. They're undocumented. This house is unregistered. So you don't know who lives there. They might not have access to amenities and stuff like that. And out of that socio-economic deprivation, ladies and gentlemen, came art. Now, if that's not something to be commended, I don't know what is. Now, this is how poetry has been used in Sierra Leone by our young people, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been celebrating the poetry of Yusuf Kamara, who goes by the pen name Gaz the Paper Poet.
Where I came from. We struggle and strive for our daily bread, fight over whose turn it is to sleep in the bed. Never satisfied, we eat for our stomach's sake, one meal, dinner, no lunch or break time. Where I came from, we hurt others to get happiness, and our living being bad, we are dragged along out of control. Our names weren't on a payroll. We live by what each day brings, clinging onto the truck of hopes and dreams. Where I came from, we're hired to commit crimes, execute evil like the RAF did in the jungle. We show no mercy, spare no opponent or rival, dozing up on crazy things for survival. Where I came from is a death trap, a survival dependent on strong bonds, a place marginalized left by itself to paralyze the slums. The ghetto is where I came from.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. People have gone berserk here in the UK. It's another hot day as well today. And I had a neighbour going, "It's officially here. Summer's officially here." So, here's the good weather. And if you were going to have a word with my GP, it's only sparkling water. I like to read a short story from Yusuf Kamara's book. As I said earlier on, the book contains short autobiographical stories as well. So it's an anthology. It's got short stories as well as poems. The title of this story is "I Stored My Dreams in Glass Jars and Followed Senior Man into the Path of Destruction." I was deeply concerned about how to achieve my goals, pave my way out and reach my potentials to live my dream life. Like, seriously, whenever this wise thought popped into my head, it instead paradoxically lured me back into street dramas. In fact, this wise thought was the most played tune back then on my figurative studio. Usually those days, it played repeatedly, but the sound of it made me calmly go round the corner with some puffs of cannabis to distress. I was a street thug, a gangster. I made other people unhappy. It's a common game played by street gangsters. For those who may not know, street rules differ by far from normal ones. That's why we kept breaking the rules. Even though our stubbornness on the street bruised our bodies and marked our faces with multiple scars. As a little boy growing up, my perception of the street was that it was a place for cars and other motor vehicles. Now I know, figuratively speaking, in fact, the street is bigger and deeper than the sea. Besides, the street is like an open office with so many departments. I vividly recall my first encounter with a senior man, the person who introduced me to a particularly risky street game called Enter Shag, which means to tactically enter someone's house who'd left a door or window open to steal some valuables. Senior man warned me, "Hey boy, down here you do what the system forces you to do if you really want to survive, or else you would be deprived of even your basic human rights. I was highly amazed at myself. I still couldn't believe I did exactly what I was instructed to do. In a nervous tone of voice, I quipped another question. But what if I were caught in the act? What would you do? Senior man gave me a stern look and barked. We have to execute the mission exactly as planned, or else you would enjoy your first torture on the street. Aha!
Good. Hello, my people. I'm Yusuf Kamara. I go by the pen name Gaz the Paper Poet. The poor poet from the slums, the ghetto, where lives are considered to be zero. I'm so excited as I have received my author's copy of my new book today, Out of the Slums Came Poetry. And I'm going to read from the book. Okay, here we go. What am I going to read? Okay, I'll read. I either reach or I die along the way. I go. The hill looming in my destination, I must climb and reach my dream station. I'm flying above all hurdles to overcome. Sharp-edged storms, rolling stones and rock, bush blades, big bends and broken branches. I'm sliding through all the upright dry trees, reptiles that hide underneath the brown leaves, waiting for their tail to be stepped upon. With hopeful feet, I'm running over them like a car, leaving their coconuts crash and crush beyond repair. I was prepared before I started. I know what I want. With a mindset, smart work, patience, faith, and consistency, this four wheels combination will surely ride me to excellence. Mission accomplished, scoring set down goals, serving humanity. With the chemistry of hope, I either reach my goals or I die along. Thank you.
Attention, please. Attention, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, here comes the moment we've all been waiting for. Our author tonight, Yusuf Kamara, aka Gaz the Paper Poet, is a massive fan of rap-style poetry. Rap-style poetry, as is known here in Britain, is fast and on point, and often you'd expect to hear the raw emotions of poets. You expect to hear rhythm and cadence in the lines, and you'd expect a musical undertone. Rap poetry was popularised in Sierra Leone through the Americanisation of our music industry. But its origins are in Afro-Caribbean roots, and often it's linked to reggae and rap music. Ladies and gentlemen, rap-style poetry is black poetry. And perhaps the best spoken poetry in Sierra Leone today is our poet, Yusuf Kamara, aka Gaz the Paper Poet. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Gaz the Paper Poet.
Following the golden path, exiting the busy road, carrying a heavy load, finding a stream for a fresh bath. My phalanges are filthy, but the mind has changed. Bulk of my body is healthy, everything seems strange. My past is rough, black and dark, but the future seems positive and bright. Roads to my old games have cracked. Life is now getting better day and night. My mind plays some silly old sounds. My crazy eyes look back behind. Fortunately, no route was found. To my ugly past ways, I'm now blind. Like an electric train, I proceed fast forward. Though my coconut may be empty, with ink on papers, I pen down words, revealing my reality to plenty, publishing my true story with others of worry about no food on my table, making my brain unstable. Many times I think of sliding back to go and pickpocket at the park. Not a clever thought, but to survive, ordinary pen and paper can't keep me alive. It's difficult to move life forward once addicted, but for a good cause one have to be committed. Life is a wonderful gift with bundles of blessings to be utilized freely out of trouble and prison. From crime to career, I've transformed my life. My family are happy that I'm alive. Though society still stigmatizes me with my old scars, trashing my effort with bitter words, I'm a shining star. Nothing will drag me back to my old. That chapter is closed, I've flipped to a new page. I'm now feeling myself like a king. Never mind the bumps on my way, I will win. Like a conqueror, I shall rejoice because I made a wise choice. Crime life is full of pain, no aim, no gain. I'm writing this from who feels it knows its points of view, not just saying blah blah like politicians telling lies in radio or TV interview. Gangster living was my wife. No regret, I divorced her for poetry. I hope others can copy and paste my past story and choose a better way of living a valid life. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. What do you say? How moving was that? I mean, it's that outpouring of raw emotions. I keep talking about raw emotions. The sincerity of Yusuf's writing. That's what sold it to me. Speaking of selling, have you bought your copy yet? Not only is he writing about a marginalised sector of an African society. He's writing from his heart, and there's nothing fabricated about what he says. And it's just beautiful, isn't it? Because he's taken us right into his soul. And when I started this project, it was to find people exactly like that. Because I believe we've got talented writers in Sierra Leone, but like I said, they are held back by a lot of social factors. Now, if you think that we've only got one outlet, as far as I know, apart from Way Out, the lovely charity which I'm going to talk about in a bit. But when you think of Sierra Leone publishers, I think it's only Malama O's platform, Professor Malama O's platform, that publishes local writers. And if you think of all the manuscripts that you might have sitting on his desk, so we need more state-run firms that publish writers like Yusuf and the other people that have taken part in this premiere tonight. Because in comparison with other West African countries like Nigeria and Ghana, it's almost like we haven't got anything. And the reason for that is probably because we haven't channeled our resources into areas like creative writing. I was going to quickly touch on the Way Out charity and say thank you to the Way Out charity on Yusuf's behalf for introducing him to creative writing. Because if it weren't for organisations like Way Out, who invested in what are known as street children, I don't like that phrase, or dropouts or incarcerated youths, Yusuf today might not be writing. So I'd like to say thank you to Hazel Chandler and her organisation. I know she's a very humble lady, but I've got to say thank you. And can I quickly say in Creole that I did look for that young lady who sabi write poetry, fine poetry where they write from my heart. Not to somebody who write boko politics, because the politics where the write, we come out of salon, people are not able to understand them better. So I look for somebody where we Spanky say they metaphorize the country. You do write poetry where depict we culture in a salon and you describe your lifestyle. You know, if especially the right, they use them word like ronco, calabash, palm oil. You know, you write about things that where you not get where you grow up, like lack of infrastructure or FGM. I'd like to hear from you because I have one more book to write before this project closes. Boris Johnson is hot in England today. I'm just going to have a sip of wine. Sorry, water. Well, it was water till Jesus turned it into wine. But that's not the story. In fact, it's going to be 40 Celsius in England tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I wanted to read a poem by Yusuf. It's one that specifically describes life in a slum. I think for a period of his life, he lived in Kobe slum. I am testifying by Yusuf Kamara. Testifying 24 hours activities of the slum. How little angels are introduced to drugs and rum. How they've been spoon-fed with bad language, transforming a princess to a savage. I'm testifying about the setup of society by bigger heads in a scrap community. How they're eating up the flesh from the bone, depriving the less fortunate a home. Testifying about the burning pressure that's killing
cool bay's pleasure, from sunrise to sunset, making its people's lives uncertain. I'm testifying what my chicken ball eyes have seen in the marginalized zones I have been. I'm telling ugly truths about a slum's abandoned youths. Futures crippled by their own people, standing on a pedestal, testifying about my old lifestyle, how I overcame all obstacles along the way while watching others going astray.
Yusuf Kamara has succeeded in breaking away from the shackles of delinquency that has sadly been the lot of many youths of his generation. Our society is encumbered with the malaise of youths forced to tread the roughest side of history with violence and drugs and their attending consequences. Kamara's deliberate interactions with other creative minds of national and international standing further fueled his passion for the arts and propelled him onto stages where he thrilled audiences with his fine spoken word skills and also co-authoring some impressive anthologies. His first solo collection of poems, Out of the Slum King Poetry, portrays his grand transformation story that would remain an inspiration not only to his peers in Sierra Leone but the world over. His determination to succeed tells that the potential of Gaz the Paper Poet, as he is well known in creative circles, cannot be overemphasized. By Samuella Julia Sierra Leonean poet and author of Love Colors and the Unsung Song, both collections of poems.
label them. Una kushe. I dey try for find young woman dem na salon wey dey below the age of 21 wey sabi write fine poetry. Dem poem there wey the young woman dem dey write, e for be dem young poem dem. Not to somebody young poem wey dey write for you, e for be you young poetry. And then poem there, they not for don't appear in any book or any social media platform like TikTok, Facebook, or Twitter. Then poem there for be you young where nobody no see it. That not because where I collect them poem there, I want write one fine book for sure say young woman there na salon then get talent. So if you not a young woman there, we sabi write poetry, and the poetry na you own, do ya, I go like for you read from you. If you see the email within the video, I go like for you reply to this email here, or for let you show under this post here on Facebook say, are interested. Thank you. According to a Bridgette Project report in 2022, Sierra Leonean women face a host of socio-political challenges, such as gender-based violence, discrimination, and genital mutilation. In comparison with males within the nation, a woman's voice, visibility, participation, and representation in elective and appointment positions is substantially less. Women in Sierra Leone face severe marginalisation despite their significant contributions to the economy and the sustenance of their households. To explore the conceptualization of womanhood, especially in Sierra Leone and in West Africa, here's renowned poet Samuella Julia Conteh. Samuella Julia Conteh is a human rights activist, dramatist, writer, and a multi-award-winning poet. She's the author of not one but two collections of poems, Love Colors and The Unsung Song. Ladies and gentlemen, Samuella Conteh.
Womanhood by Samuella Julia Conteh. When being a woman became not just a matter of biology, but culture, she was pushed and shoved into the margins. Yet she excelled using strength of her weakness and rigidity of her fragility. To be a mother to the world, and even villains scurried to get a taste of her nectar. With gait and grace, she carried the burden of womanhood, even though it took a toll on her body. When being a woman was just a tag of servitude, she had a contract to be seen and not heard, to give her all and not receive a thing in return, to be a being for the good of others. She was just a trophy for her Lord and Master. She lived their expectations against her aspirations. They made her into an ornament, even though her soul yelled against their interpretation of her humanity. Treated like a child of a lesser god, even though they knew she was a goddess. She was possessed and subjugated like a satchel, though they knew that they only existed because of her being a woman. Her bit of the gender pie is a glory as a role model, as a daughter, sister, wife, mother, and development partner as the very essence of society. Womanhood by Samuella J. Conteh.
London Marathon. Euphoria greeted the mile. Exhilaration, drunkenness, spice and sweat. Solid like old wine stored in barrels. Mixed in victory's excitement cellar. One woman, one route, running uphill on sore legs. London Marathon conquered again. When life threw hard challenges, she raced its mountains with self-doubt, never sprinting through obstacles, each one of life's marathons ace.
Above the Himalayas a shadow sings, of heavenly beings mailing above. 1,000 leagues beneath the seas, melancholy of drums dragging bones to sing. Shaping succulent swings, seeking. By these rivers, slaves were known to cry, while late years travelled the world, reaching lands where freedom is waiting. On the other side of the isles of oppression, the fountain of hope shatters countless times. Brave men and women, almost at the hem, walking on roads with only hope, becoming ghosts, becoming hosts, becoming, preparing the lands for the freedom coming, and generations of laughter under the sun as it shines again.
Tell it to Joe Ediale that Sierra Leone since independence is a hunting ground, where the mouse runs to the lion's den to seek refuge. The comedy of errors. The looters of then and now assume they have undergone the Pauline conversion. Yet, they are the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. A totem of comic relief. Tell it to Karamo Kaba that poverty amidst gold and diamonds is the tragedy of our lives. Mama Salon, the richest, yet her children among the poorest, the paradox of our life. Hunger and starvation invade our impoverished homes like a lion on a killing spree. Struggle for existence and survival of the fittest, a day-to-day emblem. Tell it to Sinchine Koka that myopia is becoming an incurable disease. The skeleton of stubborn promises have dried up in the catacombs. We screamed and wept, yet there is still deafening silence. They are the saviors of the people, yet they lack the foresight of a Jewish prophet. Tell it to Barnabas Hallowell that the loss of Cain is becoming their Achilles heel. In their quest for affluence and influence, they have become blood-sucking creatures. The politicians and their cohorts are like a bunch of crabs in the bucket. Political witch hunts and propaganda, their national creed. Tell it to Lucinda Hunter that joy came in the morning, but left when the evening came. So, we have become accustomed to the pleasure, pain, hardship, and misery. Tell it to her that the road to freedom is full of thorns, scorpions, and serpents, and the experience of treading on that path is bittersweet. Khalil, the sociological poet.
A hidden bush. The dark silhouettes in the bush hold a secret of a practice indiscreet. Innocent girls file along the whoosh, whoosh of trees, echoing the song with a pain too strong to ignore. Ouch, ouch, as they crouch they shout, it's not ugly. How dare you cut my bit like a worthless piece of meat? There's no dignity or humanity in a tradition where society dictates you mutilate a girl's body to prevent promiscuity. A dark shadow in the bonda bush, poised with her blade. We can no longer ignore in this decade a tradition I abhor. There's no dignity or humanity where a girl's sexuality is impaired by her mutilated body.
Hello everyone, I am Commander Abdul, better known to be Baby Icon. I am a 21-year-old Sierra Leonean poet. I was raised in the northern part of Sierra Leone, to be precise, Lunge City, and currently resides in the country's capital, Freetown. I want to read a poem written by a Sierra Leonean poet, Yusuf Kamara, better known to be Gaz the Paper Poet, a poem that he wrote about his school days. Listen as it reads. My confidence died at the school gate. I was trash in the eyes of my schoolmates. My confidence died at the school gate. I still don't want to talk about that era when I went to school without lunch, with a hungry belly to learn the golden rule. Physically, you might see me standing strong, but I am just pretending. Inwardly dead, outwardly dying slowly. Those days when I was a boy, jumping like a frog, house to house, playing with rich kid toys, in search of temporary joy. I detested those days, going to school with a pair of uniform, battered shoe, a whole academic year doing wash and wear. It had to look twice at my school day. I was trash in the eyes of my schoolmates. My confidence died at the school gate. I dropped out into the street to learn a trade. I have shaved many heads, from generals to couples. In the military, ministers to cripples. As my golden means of surviving then, I respected my hustle. I put in my all, muscle up, muscle, to run my shop, depending on none. I was trash in the eyes of my schoolmates. My confidence died at the school gate.
After school, we man and drop on the streets. We do into crime scenes, they do talk, drill, gangster activities there. Not until we thought and fit say a high time for when we switch from the crime scene and then we forget a sustainable career, we will keep we going and we family them back. So that make we decide to form this organization where we will help the other young youths them back with the come on the streets and fall into the crime scenes. We will get them from the crime scene and help them with to the doors of a sustainable career.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sticking with us up to this point. As you're aware, we're celebrating Yusuf Kamara, who has today launched his first anthology with the help of myself, and it's titled Out of the Slums Came Poetry. As we're talking about Yusuf Kamara, there's something important I have got to mention. I did say in passing that he has got a venture which is called the Crime to Career Farm. Now, if you dig into Yusuf's backstory, you find out that he lived on the streets, he was homeless, he was unemployed. One of the things he sought to do as a reformed character is to get himself involved in farming, that is agriculture. So, several years ago, he started a venture known as the Crime to Career Youth Farm, the Crime to Career Farm. But it is a collaborative effort with him and these other young gentlemen. And the key thing about it is that these young people have found a way to make money honestly. And I just thought that if there is an NGO out there or a charity could maybe think of a way to help Yusuf grow his farm, that would be commendable, because I'm pretty sure he needs more funds. I'm pretty sure he hasn't got the technical know-how. And there must be someone out there who will be interested in what he does. I just thought I should say that because it's such a huge part of Yusuf's life. And I think as a young Sierra Leonean, we need to give him a pat on the back for that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get on with a bit more poems, shall we?
Hello, this is DJ Bass of Radio Mercury 92.1 FM and on Facebook. I'd like to congratulate a brother man called Gaz the Poet, and also to the Sierra Leonean Poems Project for assisting him. So have a good time, DJ Bass. Enough respect.
Good evening all. I'm with Yusuf Kamara, author of Out of the Slums Came Poetry. He's joined me on the phone for an interview. Hi Yusuf.
Hello Mom, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Yusuf, please tell our listeners a bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm Yusuf Kamara, Sierra Leonean poet, rapper, and a farmer based in the northern province, Makeni City, with my family, engaging on agricultural activities.
Oh, splendid. You know, as I was reading through the poems you sent me, I realised that you addressed yourself by the name Gaz. I'm somewhat curious about the name. Why is that your pen name?
Well, Gaz is the short name for my middle name, which is Gaz B. So I decided just to use the first syllable of Gaz, and make it my pen name, Gaz the Paper Poet.
Oh, I see. It all makes sense now. And you also mentioned that you lived in Makeni. Have you always lived there, by the way?
No. When I dropped out of school, that was in 2007, I migrated to the capital city. Life was pretty hopeless, living on the streets of Freetown City as a gangster for many years. Not just a gangster, but a godfather, the boss of the gang. Society saw me as a thug, lost and useless. I came to see myself the same way. In the year 2017, I discovered poetry. I attended classes at Way Out and started writing. I write about my life, dreams, street slums, and the daily struggle to survive. I've been published in several online magazines and anthologies, but this is my first poetry book, collection of poetry and short stories. Out of the slums came poetry. But there is little money in poetry. I don't want to continue to live the street life. However, poetry has opened my eyes to a better life, given me confidence and enabled me to shoulder my responsibility of my family and the youth on the streets. So therefore, I decided to form an organization and go back to the provinces to do some agricultural activities in the farm. So I returned back to Makeni.
Oh, that's actually commendable. We're going to talk about that farm in a bit, but I was just going to say, to pick up on something you said there isn't a lot of money to be made in poetry. I can tell you that that is true, even here in England. I've got my second anthology coming out this year, published by someone here, and I can tell you why I'm not rich either. There isn't a lot of money to be made in poetry, but I think we do because we love it, don't we? Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to an interview with Yusuf Kamara, aka Gaz the Paper Poet, who's speaking to myself, Bridgette, on the phone. Yusuf is in Makeni. Now, tell us a bit more about your crime to career farm, please.
Okay, well, let me throw light on crime to career first before going to the farm. Crime to career is a community of former street youth and gang members in Sierra Leone seeking to change the mindset of young people surviving on the streets. who are involved or at risk of joining criminal activity, or who are wasting their potentials in other ways. So the farming project is mainly to help fight the issues surrounding street youth. Yeah, so we formed this organization and decided to go into the farm and engage on agricultural activities instead of we wasting our energy from fighting ourselves, doing thugs and other things. So we should go and use the same energy to turn up the soil and plant something that we can eat and at the same time feed a hungry society. We are planning to have a farm base that will serve as a rehab center for youth coming from the streets. They will spend like 2 years in our farm working for the organization, undergoing some mind rehabilitation and at the same time engaging them with some creative activities, just to keep their mind busy before letting them go to the doors of a sustainable career in their respective lives. This is our second year in farm, actually. Yeah.
I mean, you have done very well, and just listening to you, people like you, I think, are in short supply back in Sierra Leone. And when we were doing the documentary, we did see a clip of yourself and some other young people in the farm. It must be back-breaking work. Tell me what you're growing at the minute.
Well, basically for now, we grow rice, vegetables like pepper, cucumber, and potatoes and cassava. That's what we grow basically for now. But as we are going, we are planning to broaden our hands.
That's very good. I was quite interested in what you said about potato and cassava, because these are some of my favourite vegetables, if that's what they are. Have you harvested any produce yet?
Yeah, last year we harvested some of cucumber and we harvested the pepper also. Though the harvest was not that good, it was our first year in the farm. There are challenges that we never knew about, but we are getting along. We are getting there. We are looking forward to a better harvest this season, because this is our first year of planting rice. So we are looking forward for it. So we better harvest.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. We're just going to go into a music break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Before the break, I was talking to Yusuf Kamara, commonly known as Gaz, about his life and his new book with the Sierra Leone Poems Project. Yusuf has said he's engaged in agriculture and that he's been growing potato, cassava and rice. I want some of that rice, Yusuf, so I can do some rice and cassava leaves. Just to go back to your book, what's Out of the Slums came poetry about, please?
Well, basically, Out of the Slums came poetry is to show the world that there are good things also in condemned and abandoned areas in society, if only we are given the equal rights and opportunities. We can do better. That's what actually Out of the Slums came poetry is trying to send out.
Yes, I thoroughly agree with you. And what's your favourite poem or short story in it?
Where I came from is my favourite poem. Though all the pieces are my favourite. Where I came from, my favourite.
Can you elaborate a bit more? Tell us why that is your favourite poem, please.
Well, it's because I know where I came from. The reason I'm striving to change my life and impact my life so I will impact people behind me, my family. And moreover, the young youth that are coming to the street, that are rushing into the street activities. So I'm trying to set a base so that I can touch their lives. Because I know where I came from. More especially those that are coming from where I came from. I don't want them to continue to walk through where I passed.
Yeah, that's very thoughtful of you. Will that sort of tying into your final message to your readers, what you've just said, would that be like your final message to us?
Well, my final message is, if you have already got a copy of the book, then you please recommend the book to another book lovers to get a copy of the book. What we are doing now is not easy actually, but out of these books, maybe we can have something to continue to do more good with the organization, Crime to Career, because we want to do more.
Yeah.
The message here is listeners should go out and get a copy of the book. Go to Amazon, place your copy based on your choice. Then you recommend the book to another book lover for them to have the books. By that, you'll be able to push ahead and continue to change the lives that are trapped into street activities.
Yeah, I don't think it's just in Sierra Leone only. We've also got that sort of problem in England here, and I think it's going to be a hit with young people in the UK because your story is universal. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today for an interview, Yusuf.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for having me here. You appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been talking to Yusuf Kamara, author of How the Slums Game Poetry, got my home in England. Please click on the link on the page to watch an in-depth documentary about the book.
Hello. I want to go and get hold of Gaz's book. I thought I should talk to you a bit more about the layout of the book. So when Gaz reached out to me on WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, I suggested that we should do some shape poems. Shape poetry, as the name depicts, are ones where the poet uses a shape to enhance the meaning of their writing. So the lines might be structured in such a way that they look like an object. So when you do get hold of Gaz's book, see whether you can find any poems that look like a leaf. That's because Gaz told me he founded the Crime to Careers Farm. Gaz's Crime to Careers Farm was founded with the aim of helping street youths be gainfully employed in agriculture by working on a farm. So I thought, to acknowledge what he's done for the young people, maybe some of the poems should look like leaves. I was just going to show you what it looks like inside. Also, there's some glossy photos as well. And if you were to spend a bit more and buy the hardcover version, the photos are even glossier. Now, one of the reasons why I agreed to come on board and got a book with Gaz was because I saw a poem of his that just stood out. Very often when people do political criticism in Sierra Leone, they think they're going to name names. But I want you to have a listen at how subtle Gaz's satire is. So the title of the poem is Fake Painter. Fake painter, you are a disaster, an imposter with a filthy character. Your people said you can't paint well. Clearly your actions spell you fighting for your head. The nation sought a good painter to dress the dilapidated old house. Amongst all the painters that bands, you were awarded the contract letter. After cajoling and convincing homeowners with loads of honey vibes, flashy promises of blind hopes, they made you a winner. When in reality, you were not competent enough to mix the component for painters who were solicited to execute the role of contracts awarded. Fake painter, you're a beautiful deceiver. We thought you might be a reliever, not a night carpenter. You tied a knot with the people to paint their faded world with 7 rainbow colors. Now you're failing to do the needful. By your actions it's crystal clear you are not reliable. Neither are your hands capable of painting and redecorating our old buildings. Your people have swallowed the lies and pains you have been feeding them. Angrily they're waiting to vomit them on your branded boxes someday.
Crime to career. Following the golden path, exiting the body road, carrying a heavy load, finding a stream for a fresh bath. My phalanges are filthy, but the mind has changed. The bulk of my body is healthy, everything seems strange. My past is rough, black and dark. The future seems positive and bright. Roads to my old games have cracked. Life's now getting better day and night. My mind plays some silly old sounds. My crazy eyes looked back behind. Fortunately, no route was found, so my ugly past ways I am now blind. Like an electric train, I proceed fast forward, though my coconut may be empty. With ink on paper, I penned words, revealing my reality to plenty.
Hello again. I've just been reading another one of Yusuf's poems. This one was written in the style of a letter. It's particularly difficult in literature if you're going to write a poem or prose as if you're addressing another person. In a letter, your reader would expect you to get quite personal. We would want you to draw us along with you as you unravel your emotions and evoke strong feelings about your subject matter. And Yusuf has executed that skill quite well. It's paradoxical for me to talk about Yusuf and read his writing because I used to be a police officer here in the UK. And part of my job role was to secure conviction on behalf of my police force by turning up in the magistrate court after I had arrested someone and hoping that my testimony, my statement as a police officer, might be enough to secure a lengthy sentence. And I've been enlightened by reading Yusuf's poems and his short stories because it's got me thinking, what are the factors that lead young people into crime? And what are we as a society in Sierra Leone doing to prevent young people getting into a life of crime? Letter to a fellow inmate. Dear Fox J.D., a sharp, heavy pain pierces my heart, spreading through my body like the overflow of current in a newly electrified building. As I was listening to the scrambled voice of a brother, a hustler, a lovely but conflicted brother currently languishing behind bars at the correctional centre, Pedemberode Prison, Mbakayaka. Today, maybe, till tomorrow again, dwelling on the pillow of regret. And had I known, spending days counting time around the circumference of breeze blocks, high walls overshadowing the distant view. Oh, brother man, honestly, I feel your pain. I can imagine your pain. I can predict your constraints. Once my hustle too, mate. Your desperation, eagerness to catch up with a train of success that could speedily transport you to the airport of achievement, to wear the coat of a better life. I know it was your desperation that threw the key to your liberty inside the court of law, paused your mission, waiting for a return that could take decades. I had to step into your shoe, JD, becoming the main man, to bring a happy ending to your struggle, our struggle. Oh, brother man, honestly, I feel your pain. I can imagine your pain. I hope freedom relocates you, brother man. Being locked up was not your plan. Thank you.
It is simply to show that there are good things coming out of the neglected and abandoned areas in society, like the slums, the ghettos, the streets. If only the people living there are given equal opportunities and rights to showcase what they have, they can do more better. Yes. This book is mainly about me, coming from the slums, fighting to transform my life from crime scenes to career. The book contains short stories about my bitter past and poems of determination, hope, willingness, consistency. Above all, the book is a dedication to Sierra Leone literature, especially poetry, because I've used poetry as the easy access to reach my land of transformation. Well, honestly, all the pieces in this book, short story poems, are my favorite, simply because all of them came deep from the well of my heart. You know, I have to select few from the poems that I have for this book project, and I selected those that pour my feeling for this book. But nevertheless, if I'm compelled to choose one out of them, I'll ride with where I came from. Where I came from, I pray even my enemy child didn't pass through where I came from. The book is on Amazon. You can chat for Out of the Slums Came Poetry, and you can see the different version of the book. You can place your order depending on the choice you make. And also there is possible reissuing of the book in Sierra Leone for Sierra Leonean at home. I've chatted with Professor Mansaray, the founder of Sierra Leone Writer Series. He has directed me to the website to read the requirement. If met, then it is possible for reissuing.
All the Time, a poem by Yusuf Kamara,
aka Gaz the Paper Poet. All the time in our town where I came from, we flipped from one sickening situation to a deadly solution. Standing still like a robot, the pains and constraints are unshakable, our wounds incurable. Youths of the slums.
Well, I hope you've been saturated with the fabulous poetry of Yusuf Kamara. He's explored homelessness, hopelessness, substance addiction, criminality, but above all else, one theme that shines through is resilience, a typical Sierra Leonean attribute, the ability to rise above everything that life throws at us and to use that resilience to our advantage. And can I just quickly remind people before I say goodbye that is you that introspective, articulate, sarcastic, unorthodox, well-read, compendious, female Sierra Leonean poet. I love to hear from you. I don't know what you might have heard about our tap water in the suburbs, but it's very tasty. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of those who've joined us tonight, especially if you're from the Sierra Leonean media. A big thank you goes out to Salon Messenger, The African Dream, Sega Khalil's blog, DJ Bass from Radio Mercury, and if I haven't mentioned it, it was an oversight. I'd like to leave you with the infamous quote from Othello the Moor by the ingenious William Shakespeare. Good wine is a good familiar creature if it be well used. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your summer, and if it's somewhere where you are all year round, until lucky, and I shall see you again later on in the year.